you need to take, just step out into the hall and finish it up and then come on back in. One thing I've learned is that you can never talk quietly enough that you won't bug the person next to you. So just, if you get a phone call, you got to take it, go out in the hall. The session is being recorded for later viewing on NACo's Conference Learning Center, and that's a great resource for those of you who've been to these conferences. Obviously, you can't go to every workshop, but it's a great way to go back and listen to the ones that you might have missed, and also to re-listen to the ones you went to just to reaffirm the information you gleaned. Questions will be answered at the end of the session. A link to the workshop evaluations will be emailed to you daily, and the evaluation forms can also be accessed online at the same NACo Conference Learning Center. And the feedback is very important for us as the affiliate groups who like to put on the workshops for you guys. It helps us know that we're doing what you would like us to do, or if you have ideas for new topics you would like us to explore, that's very helpful. So make sure you give us feedback. The ratings are good too, but we really appreciate when you take the time to write out something. The numbers are great when they ask you to rank them 1 to 5, that's great, but it's the comments that really help us boil down and figure out if we're doing something right or not. So please make sure you give us some feedback. Hopefully it will be positive. We'll have a distinguished list of guest panelists up here with me today. They're going to be helping in the breakout sessions, and also they're going to be the hard-hitting journalists posing the questions in our mock news conference at the end. Kiara Jones is the Director of Public Information and Media Relations from Pitt County. She is not with us, but she will join us momentarily. Judy T. Brownlee, she is the District 4 Chief of Staff. Stand up, Judy, wave to the crowd. She is the District 4 Chief of Staff from DeKalb County, Georgia. She is also a new member of the NACIO Board of Directors. Jessie Beyer, Blue Earth County. She's our first Vice President of NACIO. She's a Communications Manager and Business Analyst from Blue Earth County. Lori Hudson is our second Vice President from NACIO, and she's also the Communications and Digital Media Services Director from Hillsborough County, Florida. And then hopefully to be joining us later is Dave Rose, the Public Information Officer from El Paso County, Colorado, who I have a feeling might be a little busy right now on something else involving somebody else from El Paso County, Colorado. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's talk a little bit about NACIO. What is NACIO? We're an affiliate group of NACo. We're the County Public Information Officers. If I could just quickly get a show of hands from everybody, whose county in here does have a Public Information Officer? All right, whose county does not have a Public Information Officer? All right, that's normally the case. One of the missions of NACIO is we like to try to highlight the value of PIOs, and we hope that those of you who don't have one, when you go back to your county, will have learned something here today and seen the value of a Public Information Officer. And I know that you're not going to be able to convince your fellow board members right away to do that, but maybe you can get that seed planted, and in a few years, when the economy really does finally turn around for everybody, that would be a position you can consider adding to your staff, because it really does. Public information officers can bring a lot of value to a county. We are on the web at nacio.org. We have all sorts of resources for public information officers. We have all sorts of social media plans, information about citizens academies. So go there and check that information out. We're on Facebook. Search for the National Association of County Information Officers. And we're on Twitter at NACIO66. So if you are on Twitter and if you're tweeting from the workshop, just please make sure you include our group at NACIO66 so we can share your tweets with our followers. Hopefully it'll be a good tweet. So the workshop will work like this. We're going to actually put the work into workshop. We're going to make you work a little bit. Today's session is going to be interactive and fun and informative, I hope. We're going to split into groups. Each group will be assigned one of the moderators from up here. We'll probably split into 4 groups. And you're going to each be given a unique scenario that you will be discussing in your groups. Now please note that you are not to debate the scenario. In these scenarios, the board decision has already been made. And your task now is to identify and develop the key talking points that you would use to promote this decision to your constituents. So even if you think there's no way you would ever go along with what the board decided in this scenario, that's fine, but we're not here to debate that. Just play along with us. And we'll make sure that the press, if they ever get a quote from you saying you supported something that you would never support, we'll understand this is just a workshop, just an exercise, so don't hold them to that. We'll give you 15 minutes to discuss the issue in your groups. You'll identify the talking points, and then importantly, you'll also spend some time thinking, okay, here's our key main points we want to make. Here's why we did this. Here's what the opposition is going to say, and here's how we counter that. So you'll be thinking about what the opposition says and what you would say in response to that. Each group will appoint a spokesman who will serve as the chairman of your county board of commissioners, and he or she will come up to the front, up to the podium at the end of the room, in the front of the room at the end of the meeting, and will participate in a mock news conference. And the questions will be asked by our reporters here. And also, we encourage any of y'all in the audience, if you've ever wanted to be a reporter and ask a tough question of a county commissioner, here's your chance. So if you've got a question you think, if you hear the scenario and you think it would be useful or a good question, you want to know why they did it, feel free to ask it. When you do ask questions, the only thing is this session is being recorded, so we want you to come to the microphone in the center of the stage so we can get all of the audio on the recording for those who go back and listen to this later. We will critique each presenter on how well they stuck to the key talking points and also how they handled themselves during the interview. And here is Kiara Jones, one of our presenters. Thank you, Kiara. Better late than never, right? So, what are our goals for today? Well, we're going to work on two things. We're going to work on message development and message delivery. These goals are really equally important. If you have a great message but a terrible delivery, the message will get lost by the delivery. If you have no real message, it doesn't matter how flashy your delivery is. People will eventually figure out that you just keep saying nothing. So we're going to talk about both of them. Think presidential debate. Okay, that's when they really say nothing. Let's talk about message development first, and let's begin by talking about what it is not. Okay, a message is not your goal. A message is not a statistic. A message is not a fact, and most importantly, a message is not about you. What is a message? A message communicates a benefit. You wouldn't be doing this, you wouldn't have made this tough decision if you didn't feel it would benefit your community. I mean, are you going to go out and make a decision that's going to be terrible for the community? Of course not. A message describes a shared value. This is how you make the connection to your audience. A message is short, concise, and to the point. And a message uses carefully chosen words. Always try to humanize your message. If you have a new idea that you think will improve education in your community, think about how you say that. Which sounds better? This new program will improve our public school system, or this new program will improve the quality of education for all the children in our community. Obviously, you want the children, you want that connection with the children instead of just a monolithic public school system. Here's another idea. The police department love to say when they have a new crime initiative, this is going to make our streets safer. Well, who cares about the streets? I want to know, is it going to make my family feel safer in their homes at night? So, if you've got a new initiative that's going to cut down on crime, say this program will help our citizens feel more safe in their homes and communities. So again, you're sharing that value with your citizens there. Your message should be boiled down to a handful of key points and refer to them over and over. Don't be afraid to repeat yourself. If you're in an interview with a newspaper, it's okay to keep saying the same points over and over. Same thing with a television report. It's okay to keep making the same 1, 2, 3 key points over and over. Eventually, they'll figure out that this is what you're going to say and this is how you need to say it. So it's okay to keep repeating yourself. And the other thing is, don't ramble. Once you've finished answering the question, look in the camera or stay on the phone with the reporter. Don't feel that you have to fill a void. A lot of times, especially if you're doing phone interviews with newspaper reporters, they're writing down what you said or they're trying to finish typing up your quote. Equally, a lot of times, they're not doing either. They're sitting there hoping you'll start up again, start rambling and saying something more that you don't want to say. So just don't ramble, like I just did. Communications is key. Now that you've developed your message, you've got to figure out how you're going to get it out to the public. It doesn't do you any good to have a great message if you don't do anything with it. So typically you're going to need some help from outsiders, and this is where the media is going to come in. Get a press release ready with the 3 key points you wish to make, at least 1 or 2 quotes and the relevant facts, and distribute it to the local media. Again, that press release is not designed to, you don't want that press release to appear verbatim in the newspaper the next day. Some papers will do that. Some of the smaller jurisdictions, weekly newspapers, twice weekly newspapers, they will frequently run press releases as they are. But what you're trying to really do is just get that concept to the editor of the paper and the reporter. Here's something important going on in the county. Here's the information about it. Here's why we think it's important. Here's a couple of quotes for you. Hopefully, that'll force them to get interested and write their own story about it. But the other thing you have to remember is you don't have to rely solely on the commercial media, the outside media, to get your point across. How many of your counties have a website? How many counties don't have a website? We've got one way back there. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. But that is a great, I mean, that's your media right there. So if you do a press release, put it on your website. And don't just stop at a press release. Create some multimedia content. Make sure to include the information on the county website. Use any social media sites that you have available. How many of you county have a Facebook or a Twitter feed? Very good, excellent. Post it on there and then link back to your website. You're trying to always drive traffic back to your website with your tweets and your Facebook postings. So those offer great viral potential because you can get it out to people, they can retweet it, they can put it on their Facebook pages, so you're getting it out to more people than just those who are actually following you. And also be sure to include your county staff. If you can get buy-in from the county staff, that's a great way to help you deliver the message to the public. So if you've got a press release that you send out to the news release, send it to all of your county staff. I'm sure your email system has some way to say send all, distribute to all county staff. And that is a great way to get them to understand what the decision is. And then when their neighbor comes up to them and says, what in the world is your Board of Commissioners thinking when they voted to do blah, blah, and blah? They can say, hey, you know what? It's really not a bad idea. If you think about it, it's going to do this for our community. So you've got all these advocates running around who can maybe do some grassroots kind of lobbying for you there. And then the most important thing is when you send out a press release, make yourself available for an interview. Don't send out a press release and then go on a 3-week vacation. The press release should have a contact information up top for here's for more information, contact so-and-so, and make sure that you are available. That's one of the, if you talk to reporters, that's one of their pet peeves. They'll get a press release, hey, great idea, let me call this to get more information, they get your voicemail. I've gone on vacation, I'll be back in the office in 2 weeks. So that's not good. So now that you've gotten your message, you're ready to get it delivered, now you're ready to hit a home run with the interview. You've got your interviews lined up. So what do you do next? Well, there's an old military maxim that comes in handy here. Time spent in reconnaissance is seldom time wasted. So the first thing you have to do is get to know the media. Now, what kind of a reporter is coming to the interview? If it's the hard-hitting television investigative reporter, you can expect a certain line of questions. If it's a feature-style reporter who's usually doing kind of the human interest type stories where somebody's always crying, you can expect another line of questions. So just you do a little research, try to find out what kind of reporter's coming. If you're doing a television or radio interview, think of what you can do to enhance the interview setting for your reporter. Television reporter is going to be looking for some good visuals. So if you're doing a new program about something in the school, think about maybe holding the interview out at the playground at the school or something. Same thing for the radio reporter. They're looking for good audio. So just think of what you can do to help them have a better story that they can go back and put on the air. And then another thing is I'm a big fan of Bruce Springsteen, and the line from one of his songs is good advice when preparing for an interview. And this is not just for a television interview. Check your look in the mirror. Obviously, you want to look good when you're on television, but you also want to convey to a print reporter. If a print reporter is coming to your office for a sit-down interview, you don't want to show up in T-shirts and a shirt and you hadn't shaved in 2 days and you're wearing sandals and whatever. I mean, look professional. Let the reporter know you're taking this seriously. For one thing, they may bring a photographer with them and take a photograph of you to run with the story, for one thing. They may not bring a photographer, but they'll have an iPhone, and if they see you sitting there and looking disheveled, even if they haven't been told we need art for this story, they might say, oh, you know what, I'm going to get a photograph of this and take it back to my editor. If nothing else, we'll use it later when he gets arrested for drunk driving or something. So just make sure that you always look professional when you're doing an interview. Dress the part for that. It's also very important that you know the message you want to convey. It never hurts to rehearse. So for those of you who have a public information office in your county, get them to come into your office and rehearse. Tell them what's going to happen. You've got an interview set up. Most of the PIOs, a lot of the PIOs have a newspaper or a television news background, a media background. They know what questions reporters are going to ask. So they'll just tell them to sit down there and start asking me questions. Let me practice, let me get my answers ready. Let me practice making the points I want to make. So rehearse. It's never afraid to rehearse. Remember that you can't control the media, but you can control your message, and that's where the rehearsing can come in. Remember to look at your interviewer and not into the camera. Answer questions in complete sentences, especially for television interviews. Don't be afraid to repeat the reporter's question in your answer. If you're asked, how much will this save county taxpayers, don't just say, about 3 cents on the tax rate. Say something like, this will enable us to reduce our property taxes by 3 cents and that will help every county realize the savings in their wallet, something like that. A complete sentence where you're paraphrasing the question back to the reporter and you got the information in you want. Because again, television in particular, they're looking for those sound bites, those quick sound bites. There was a study done recently that showed that the average sound bite on the national news has gone from back in the 60s, it was over a minute, to now it's less than 7 seconds. It's the amount of time that somebody's on the screen talking in the little features. And it just so happens that you can read a tweet in about 7 seconds. So it's amazing how that has just kind of come down together. So remember to speak slowly, clearly, and in short but complete sentences. All right, so we're getting ready. I'm going to go back one. We're getting ready to break into the groups. And it looks like we're going to break into 4 groups. So what we're going to do is have this side and this side split, and y'all have to turn your chairs around, and then we'll do the same thing on this side. So about 3 rows here. Looks like we'll have enough for about 10 people or so in a group. Each of my assistants here are going to take a group, and they're going to guide you through your scenario, and then they're going to help you with identifying and developing your key talking points. We'll give you about 15 minutes for this, and then we'll come back up here and we'll start the mock news conferences. So let's get our chairs turned around and split into groups, and then we'll start the timer.